welcome to today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green.
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
And we have the pleasure of being joined today by Nikki Reeves and Leroy Lamar. Nikki Reeves is the co-founder of the Comprehensive Community Services in Atlanta. Nikki serves as both the Director of Operations and the Volunteer Coordinator. She has extensive experience working with vulnerable populations, including volunteering with anti-trafficking organizations for 2 years before settling in at Serenity Steps, which was the predecessor to CCS.
Yes.
Her experience in the Virgin Islands, where she worked with a similar population for 7 years, has given her valuable insights and skills to bring her to the work at CCS. Thank you for founding that organization.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Lamar joins us with significant experience in service provisions and relationship building, particularly with the homeless and nonprofit sector. He has worked with youth at Young Life, providing with additional experience working with this population. His time as a youth pastor has also given him valuable skills in program development and executive directing. Together, Leroy and Nikki they bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to their roles, making them valuable assets to the organization. So I have to say that comprehensive community service is doing a lot in the community. You're working on anti-trafficking. You've created seminars for local governments. You provide education and resources also to local officials on how they can stop and work against human trafficking. You've created a client journal. You've partnered with Fulton County school systems to provide lunches and meals for at-risk students during COVID. You're doing a lot, providing over 240 meals a week. They also took a Winnebago that they called the Nest, a 30-foot mobile office for their nonprofit, providing showers, laundry facilities, hot meals, and a safe space for community members to work on their goals or just take a nap, because that's so important. And then you've also created the Birdhouse, which are 1-bedroom transitional living spaces, which allows those who are unhoused to provide transitional housing in their time of need. Ooh,
I know, right?
Got to take a breath.
I'm tired. That's a lot. Thank you for your work. So, I have to ask Miss Nikki, how did you initially come up with the idea to found CCS?
Well, so we are co-founders.
Okay.
And it was in the midst of working at Serenity Steps. The more we got embedded in the community that we were in, we found that our direction really wanted to go one way. And the board of directors at Serenity Steps wanted to continue on a different path. And so we split ways, and we thought, you know what? We've got ideas. Let's just go and do this. And we've kind of been learning as we go, hence the meals during COVID and all of that. Whatever it takes, we're going to be there for our community. And that community happens to be a place where there's not an actual community. There's no grocery stores. There's no libraries. There's no schools. There's no homes. It is just some hotels that are being used as extended stays. They're not designed to be that way. There are liquor stores, strip clubs, warehouses, trucking, centers, things like that. So we decided that, hey, we're going to bring the community to this group of people because we fell in love with them.
You have.
How do you find the clients that you work with?
It's all word of mouth. They say, hey, Nikki and Leroy? Not one of them would be able to say that we are comprehensive community services. Part of the reason we shorten it to CCS, but even that they wouldn't know. And part of that is on purpose because we lead with relationships. So I would rather have them know me as Nikki We've been called a lot of things. We're the hot dog people because we do a bi-weekly cookout. We're the black guy and the white lady. We're the like we have lots of names out there, but CCS is the last thing they would call
That's
us.
the last thing they call you. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Nikki,
Kat, because you look like you had something to say.
Girl, I don't know if you remember Leroy, but I met you guys at one of the events I volunteer with, an organization, and we were at a graduation of a young lady. And Karen, you know how we say we be in these streets, like they really be
Mainly
in these
you.
Right. Wherever I go, you go, sis. And they did it. And I love how, I mean, there was not a dry eye in the building, right? And this man and woman, Nikki and Leroy had a huge impact on this person's life. Can you tell a little backstory about this individual that I'm speaking of and how you weren't always called Nikki and Leroy in their life? Like, but y'all, so they down with people. And sometimes, when you help people, they don't want to, you every name other than a child of God, but y'all never leave their side. So
for sure.
Speak to that, please.
Yeah, we had a relationship with that individual that was lovely at the point you met us.
Yeah.
But it started off as one of those that she would go the other direction when she saw us coming. And later she would tell us that that's because she knew she was doing wrong and she needed to do better. But we wore her down over time. And she became one of our very, very good friends. And she's still doing very well. And that graduation was a year ago. So she's, working a full-time job, moved states, moved all of that, and is doing extremely well. Yeah. So we're excited. And that's one thing that makes CCS different. We walk with them their whole life. We don't just say, oh, congratulations, you got into this program, or, oh, you got an apartment, or, you're going to this class. We are always there walking with them.
That's right. And you let people sleep in your vans, like speak to that. Go ahead. I mean, I want you to tell it so our listeners can know how deep y'all in this. Like, this isn't just, it truly is a relationship. Y'all become friends. Yes. And then in that connection, I personally believe is when the shift happens, as one of our guests said, the shift has to happen. So please tell our listeners that. Get on down with the grimy. Let them know what y'all do out there.
For us, so when I started working on Fulton Industrial, that's where we call kind of home base. And when I started working there, I had a friend who's very, very close. She's like a little sister to us. And she was in a bad spot. She was in a really, really bad spot. And I would go see her every Friday, and we would start to have dinner at the Waffle House across the street from the hotel that she was staying in. And it was actually through her that I started to get to know a lot of the people in the neighborhood. And so it wasn't necessarily like on a let me help them situation at first. It was, this is my little sister's friend. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to, and then it was, well, how can we start to help you figure things out? And because you're my little sister's friend, the doors are open, because what's mine is hers, and what's hers is now going to be yours. And so, so before we got the RV, we would do hot dogs. We would have people come and they would sleep in the front seat of Nikki's car while we're grilling hot dogs.
The little blue Prius.
When we got the RV, it was always people sleeping in there. Like, we always had somebody taking a nap in there, because life is tough. We have friends that'll come up and they'll be like, listen, I haven't slept in 2 or 3 days. Like, I am exhausted. And we get that. We understood that. And so we wanted our space to be a place for that. What were you about to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes they don't even realize they were tired. We read a study one time that said, when someone feels safe and comfortable, that's when their body kicks in and can go to sleep.
Okay.
And so the number of strangers that have come into our space and fallen asleep in an area where you don't just fall asleep, right? Like you got to be watching your back.
Yeah.
Is amazing to me. One girl said to us as she walked in, she was like, y'all aren't going to kidnap me in this thing, are you?
Yeah.
And just kind of, we were like, no, not at all. And she was out. And I mean, she was out for hours.
She slept so hard. Like we had to kidnap her because we had to go to the other end of the boulevard. And I was like, I cannot wake this girl up. She is not waking up. She was out cold. I was like, well, she just got to wake up on the other side of the street because that's where we got to go. But for the most part, we try. I mean, that's our goal. Like, I realize that not everybody has community, not everybody has family, not everybody has friends. Some people burn those bridges like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the people that we come in contact with, for the most part, are just the loveliest people. And they've had some hard times, and they've made some decisions, and they made some choices that I don't think mark who they are in their souls.
Yeah.
And so spending that time to get to know them at that core, like who they really, really are, and loving them in that space, and then letting them love us. I mean, that's one of the things that is important for us, is that the relationship isn't just kind of a one-way, hey, Leroy and Nikki are always here to just give. Like, we really want to have true relationships and friendships. Like, we want to tell you how our families are doing. Like, here's how my kids are doing. And, let's go out to lunch and let's eat and let's just be together. And not always like, let's work on your goals and let's figure out, like, we're friends, and like friends don't always do that. Sometimes friends just hang out.
Just sit and be.
Just kick it. And so really important, definitely important for me, is having time where I'm not pushing you to do anything. I'm not condemning you. I'm not judging you. I'm just sitting here on the block with you, and we just gonna sit out here and kick it until the police come and make us leave.
Something just came to my mind. I know that you work with human trafficking victims, because that's what they are. They're victims. How do you get into that space to be able to interact with them? Because I'm an assistant district attorney in a metro Atlanta County.
Yeah.
And I just I sat second chair on a human trafficking case just last week, 2 weeks ago. And the pimp was trafficking women from Georgia back to Florida and back. And he was targeting young women who were in foster care, living in group homes. Who had been the victims themselves of some sort of, most of these young women had been the victims of some sort of either sexual abuse, or they had been trafficked previously. So he was targeting these young girls, and they were young girls. He ended up getting 50 years. I'm very proud of that. But he ended up getting 50 years. So I know that they keep a very tight rein on these girls. Like, they isolate them. They're not allowed to have communication with anyone unless it's with them. Right. So how do you get into that space where you gain their trust and you get them to be able to open up to you, where you can provide services? Because I have to imagine that because they're so used to everyone being predatory, that they would be guarded and wondering, what do you want of me? Because everyone wants something of them.
Yeah.
I mean, when we are out on the street, we can definitely tell a street-based sex worker that is pimp controlled, if you will, versus one who does the choosing or on her own, just in the way that they interact with us. And so we don't ever push. We just always have the same conversations. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're coming up to get a hot dog, that gives me 10 seconds to hand you a hot dog and, you know, say, hey, if you ever need anything, here's my card. And we just have a very simple card. It's got our, you know, Blackbird logo in the background and a phone number. And that phone number rings to both of us. I am on the voicemail, you know, but we never approach it as, hey, we're here to rescue you. Get in that phone. Like,
yeah.
You know, we come at it from a very sideways position. And I think that differentiates us from a lot of organizations because it opens up the doors to the entire community, including the pimps.
Right.
You know, we know some pimps, they know us. They call us if there's troubles sometimes. It's a very fragile ecosystem.
Okay. I would imagine.
And so, you know, we're always very careful. None of our language ever talks about, you know, saving or rescuing, because that can be very triggering on that side. Although we've done those things, you know. So we just want to make sure our friends are always safe. And so one reason for the very vanilla name, Comprehensive Community Services, you know, on our website, we don't talk about the anti-trafficking movement all that often. We are very much anti-trafficking for sure, but it's so nuanced that we take the time to try to dive in slowly and untangle the mess a little bit. And when there's times and need for, you know, intervention, we do those things. And we also work with a private investigator and turn things over to him when there's law enforcement issues, things like that. And I just think that that's positioned us in a spot that we still have the respect of the community. You know, people that are new to us are like, you guys cops? Are you guys narcs? Or what are we? Like, they can't quite figure us out. But once they get to know us and they realize that we are just here for the benefit of the whole community, things change and they start opening up and having conversations with us that they've been afraid to have maybe in the past.
On average, how much contact or how long do you think it takes before you've gained that trust of a client before they become a client from the time you first meet them?
It depends. I mean, if it's a recommendation from somebody they already know, they're already kind of eager to start having conversations and start trying to figure things out. And most of the time it's like, hey, I need to get my vital records. I need my ID, birth certificate. Can you help me get my food stamps turned back on?
It starts transactionally.
It starts off like that in the beginning. But if it's somebody who's coming up and they're like a long-term resident of the community and they're not really necessarily trying to get anything from you, you know, those can take time. And if it's somebody that we are just meeting, I mean, it could take 6 months to a year before the trust has been kind of established because it's just the consistency of us being there, seeing us in different situations. Like, you know, they know I'm out here doing something. Now let me see what they do when I flash this pipe, you know, how are they going to respond, you know? So if I show paraphernalia, what are they going to? So it depends on how willing they are to kind of take those steps. And again, like Nikki said, we're never pushy. It's just, we really, really walk at your pace. And that has opened up, like Nikki said, doors on all sides of things, from users to dealers to pimps to whatever. All those relationships are kind of open to us, and we're really a part of the community. And our community is just one that just doesn't look like, you know, the regular community. It's got its own rules, it's got its own laws, its own way of being. And in a lot of ways, we try to respect that, because we know that in respecting that allows us to be able to show that we honor you and aren't trying to do anything that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, while trying to provide a pathway to a better space and a better life for you. I do think everybody in the community knows that we don't want you here. We want to see you living well and living better. But they all know that we're not gonna We're not going to force you. We're not going to trick you. We're not going to trap you.
We're not judging you.
We're not judging you. You are our friends. So, yeah.
And you have a support system. You know, I know you have somebody that you'd like for us to talk to give a little highlight of what you guys do.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Hi there. My name is Cynthia.
Hi.
Hey, Cynthia.
They used to call me head nurse on the street.
Head nurse.
Why they call you that on the street, girl? Why they call you
Forward
that?
industrial.
That's what they call it. You don't want to know? We gonna know that.
Oh.
We don't. No.
Yeah,
We don't want to get into that.
I'm a character, but I'm older now. I'm not a young pretty girl anymore. I got a lot of health problems. I got heart failure, kidney failure. I'm on dialysis. I take drugs, and the street life has really messed me up.
Yeah.
And I'm thank God I'm at home. I'm drug free with my dad.
Praise God.
Yes.
God.
I met Nikki and Leroy years ago on Fulton Industrial, and we all Fulton Industrial's got their own court system. They don't just send you to Rice Street anymore. Back then. They had so many people out there getting so many misdemeanors that they had built their own court system. So I kept getting accumulating these prostitution and drug paraphernalia charges, and a long list of them. And so I had to go to court every Friday to let them know how I was doing with, my drug habit. But that's when I met Nikki and Leroy. They were Serenity steps in. So when you mentioned it, I said, yeah. But at first I was kind of leery. I didn't know who they really were. I knew who they said they were, but I didn't know who they really was.
So what was your fear?
Ma'am?
What was your fear?
My fear was that they were going to use this in the court to prosecute me on some charges or something.
Okay.
I was smoking crack. I was paranoid.
Right.
And and I was living on the street, and I didn't want to be taken from the street at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't trying to change. And so they would come pick me up every Friday at the hotel where I was paying rent. And they would take me, make sure I got to court because the court was a long way down Fulton Industrial. I couldn't walk there. So it was then that we became close, and then they just started stopping by, seeing if I'm hungry. We got some extra hot dogs and stuff like that. I used to be paranoid when they would come to my motel because I would be in there smoking. And oh God, the room is full of crack smoking. They didn't mind at all. They came and brought me food. They didn't say nothing about the smoke. And I remember one time, let me tell you, I was with this man. He's alcoholic and he's real lonely. And so whenever I got tired or hungry, he always had some snacks. So I go and visit him because he wouldn't bother me while I was asleep. I knew I was safe wherever that might be, in a tent, in the woods, And so one time we was at the back of this abandoned trailer behind a gas station. And this crazy man came up. He had some kind of beef with the man that I was with. And he locked the trailer door, locked us in there. And
he said he was going to kill y'all because y'all...
Because we didn't feed his cats.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. It was crazy. And come to find out, though, he had just gotten out of prison for doing a long stint for murder.
He did.
And kidnapping.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So thank God.
Yes.
At that moment, I had a phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know I had a phone. He thought we was just going to be in there till he let us out, I guess. Well, I called Nikki and Leroy. My phone was about to go dead. So I knew if I called him, he would take care of it.
Okay.
I told him where I was at, and he came with the bullies. Yeah, his two sons were back in the car and everything. Yeah, he came and got me out of that trailer.
Praise God.
Was that the moment that you realized that you wanted to live differently?
Well, it was shortly after that, I tell you that.
Yeah.
It was one day when I was really tired. I'd been up for like 4 days. I think I was like sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Smoking and just jumping in and out of cars, trying to get some more money. And I fell asleep in the tent in the woods with the drunk man. And when I woke up, I felt so sticky and sweaty. It was summertime. Flies was out.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my God, I just can't do this anymore. I'm not young anymore. I'm getting older, you know. So I called Leroy. He's the only person I knew to call. My dad's 85. So I told Leroy, I said, please come get me and take me home.
Yes. Yes.
And boy, he wasn't there 20 minutes. He was there by the woods behind the grand buffet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he tooted the horn and I came running out. Yeah. Yeah.
Praise God.
Leroy.
Yes.
That was tough.
You know,
That was a tough day too, because I remember like even driving to your dad's house, you were like,
I was
turn around, let's go back. I'm not ready. I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
And then you
I
were like,
was-
no, keep going. Turn
I-
around. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And it took us a minute to like, and so I was like, okay, we could turn around.
Yeah, because I knew I wanted to make a change, but it was so hard to do it. Crack cocaine is a hell of a thing, you know.
Mm.
And I knew that at home I wasn't going to be able to do none of that. And
Mhm.
so, but I knew at that time I had woken up in a motel room and I couldn't breathe.
Oh yeah.
And I called Leroy and Nikki, and they
Yeah.
came and got me and took me to the emergency room.
Right.
They
Mm.
diagnosed me with COPD,
Yeah.
and that's why I couldn't breathe.
I almost had to break the door down that time because you wasn't there. I was like, this door is not opening.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Because I kept going to sleep because I was coming down off the drugs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then there was another time. What was I gonna say?
How long have you been clean and sober?
When COVID first came out, I had caught COVID, and you know I got the
Yeah.
COPD, the congestion.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes, and a lot of people were dying, and I survived. And so
Praise
I
God.
had my car out there with me. Lord, forgive me.
This is crazy.
I had my car out there with me because I had been home for a while, but I had
Mhm.
relapsed. So I had my car with me. So, but I couldn't breathe, so I couldn't drive. So I got one of my partners, my little geek partners, to drive me there in my car. So
Mhm.
he had no way back to Fulton Industrial.
Right.
So I called Leroy again. Leroy said, don't worry about it. I'll come get your car, take it home to your dad, and I'll send him an Uber to get back. And I thought, oh, thank you, Lord.
She listen,
Lord
they
have
left
mercy.
they left the car in the middle of the street by grade,
What?
like literally in the middle of the street.
Couldn't
And
breathe.
she couldn't do anything. She was like, I gotta get out of here. And he was
Wow.
like, yeah, so I'm just jumping out. So they
Yeah.
left the car in the middle of the street. I was there all night, I think. I think we went back the next morning to get the
Yeah.
car. I sent an Uber for him and we found the car in the middle of the street the next
My
day.
Oh,
dad is so grateful because he brought that car home. It was in
Yeah.
his name.
Yeah.
Mm.
Got it home.
I don't listen. I don't know if you believe in God or not, but God has been all over your life.
Blessing you
Yes,
all
ma'am.
over your life.
And you know
And
what?
He has spared you to tell a testimony.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
right. And
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you for sharing
You
it
know
with
what?
us.
They've been there so many times.
You know, you've been through so much. God has seen you through so much. Is there anything with your testimony that you could tell our listeners about some things that they shouldn't do, should do with your experience and your testimony? What words would you like to give our young folks? Because, you know, a lot of young people are making those choices.
Well, I tell you, the drugs are really hard on your organs.
Mhm.
Mm.
Really hard on your organs. You
Mhm.
might not feel it right now, but they're accumulating inside your body, and you don't even realize it because you don't feel it. You're high.
Mhm.
So, but when they told me I had congestive heart failure, COPD, high blood pressure, kidney failure, I had to do dialysis for the rest of my life if I wanted to live. And they just done a surgery here.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
so I'm still having complications, but I'm alive and I'm not walking the street. I'm not sleeping on the street, in the woods, in a tent. And
Yes.
they brought me home, and that's where I'm at with my dad. I'm at home now.
All right.
Amen.
How long have you been clean and
Stay
sober?
away from the drugs.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And how tell us how long you've been clean and sober?
I think it's been like maybe I don't keep count because then it
Okay.
puts so much focus on the drugs.
Okay.
But it's been a while. Let me think close. 11 months.
Yes. Praise God. Praise
I
God.
still
And
in
thank
my
you.
mind, I still battle.
Yes.
Great battles. Great battles.
Great battles.
So, but I've survived. I'm surviving.
Well, I will be praying for you and your continued sobriety and the support system that you have. I'll
Oh yes,
because we have to also be praying for those who help folks, those who are there and interceding on behalf of others. So we pray for Leroy and Nikki so that they can continue to be blessings to those folks that
oh yes.
that they're involved in with.
Well, like they said, a word of mouth. You know, a lot of people didn't trust them at first, but then once they saw somebody else trusting them, then they trusted them. You know, it gets around. We communicate. You know, we talk. So I'm still to this day. I tell them, listen, let's go eat lunch somewhere. I'm gonna buy y'all lunch. You know.
All right.
So what we do is take turns.
We take turns.
Yeah.
Make sure you take them on to Chick-fil-A on Sunday, all right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think last time we went to John Fine Food, they have a lot of country cooked food.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, good.
But thank you.
Thank you so much for
sharing your
You're
testimony.
welcome. You
I'm
ladies
so
are welcome.
proud of your journey. And good luck to you.
Thank you, man.
Yes. Y'all are doing it. And I know this is one of many testimonies.
Yeah,
So-
Cynthia was one of those that I had heard of before I met her, and she would always avoid our hot dog out. And finally, one day she came up, and I said, "Oh my goodness, you must be Cynthia, because I see your hair." And the lady at the Red Roof Inn told me that you used to be a hairdresser.
That's right.
And she was like, "What?"
That's right.
That kind of broke the ice, and ever since then. We've been fast friends.
Let me ask you this. With what you do, what type of partnerships with other organizations do you have going on? What type of collaborations with the county, the state, any other nonprofits? Can you speak to that?
So we work closely with a few nonprofits, like the one that you mentioned, the graduation that we went to. We work very closely with them. That's one of our strongest partners. In fact, like we've been working with them since they started. Like when I started back with Serenity Steps, they were starting out as well. And so we grew up together. We grew up together as nonprofits. And so we've always kind of been strong with them. We have a few relationships with the police department and sheriff's department, on
Fulton County
Industrial,
Police,
Fulton County Police, that are important to us. There are relationships where they trust us. They don't press us. They allow us to do what we do, but also are there when we need them, and are supportive for helping us, figure out some tricky situations. So I'm very, very thankful for those relationships as well. And we have relationships with Georgia Harm Reduction is one of our partners that we have relations. So we have a number of nonprofits that we work with, because our goal is to, I guess the best way to put it is to kind of till the ground, so to speak. A lot of the folks, we've noticed that there are organizations that come out and do outreach, but it's kind of like one-off, right? They'll come out and it'll be a different group of people every now and again that will interact with this, with the people out there, and they don't really know them. And so it's not like it's not good or it's not effective, but we've just found that the long-term relationship building over time, the friendship, where you start to allow those hearts to kind of open up, to allow change, talk, and communication to start to happen. And then we start working on connecting you to the other services and things around, around the city or wherever, in order to get you help. So our goal at the beginning is, like we said, we lead with relationships, we stay with relationships. And then we try to connect you to those points of help that you need. And if we can't, then we do create it ourselves. So the Nest was part of that. The Birdhouse is part of that. Being able to have safe spaces, for our friends, non-judgmental spaces, because, a lot of our friends are not ready to take some of the steps that even anti-trafficking organizations and whatnot are asking them to take. They're just not there. Like, our friends are not there. And so we're like, well, what is that next step for you? What does that look like? And then how can we create that to give you some separation and space so that you can start making those decisions and change. So.
Yeah, I commend y'all on y'all approach, because we believe in relational. Like, and I feel like that's what Karen and I are doing with this podcast that God has blessed us with. We're able to create relationships, and we have earned a space of respect, and people trust us. And that's why we believe in bringing on people like yourselves and others who are truly in the community doing the work that's necessary and doing it from your heart. It's not about money, it's about purpose, you know. And we are women of God, and we believe that God has put us here to protect God's kingdom. And we have to do that by looking out for one another. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how much technology you have, infrastructure. It's all about human capital. And when we're suffering, then if somebody's suffering, we're all suffering. So I commend each and every one of you for what y'all doing. And I thank God for y'all, because this is powerful. And I love Miss Cynthia's testimony, and I know that there are hundreds of others. And so thank y'all for continuing to doing what y'all doing. I want to ask one thing. How can people support you? Because we know we doing the work, honey, but we need some money. We need some resources. How can people get down? How can we get another van? How can we get some other things?
Yeah. Well, that's our big campaign right now. Unfortunately, the Nest has seen better days. The Winnebago is a year 2000 model. So that's 24 years old. Motorhomes were never meant to really last that long, let alone one that's, driven all the time. So it is beyond repair, not beyond repair. It is just beyond our financial means to repair it. For what it would fix. So we are dreaming for a new bird's nest, and we have found one that we absolutely would love. It's got a fantastic setup for us, including a outdoor kitchen with a grill, so our hot dogs could just seamlessly roll. So we have found it, and we are dreaming, but it is $125,000. So that is our big campaign. We run on as small of a budget as we possibly can for our organization, and having a client roll over 100 individuals. We really run on about $160,000 to $170,000 a year. So to try and add an RV that would be the programming and all of that aspect, but it still feels like it's such a large chunk to us. But we also know that's just the design that we need. That is the key piece. It allows people to see us. It allows shelter from the weather and the elements. So many magical moments have happened inside that RV that we just can't give it up. I only drive a Prius, and we can get all of the hot dog things inside the Prius, including a tent, but it is so much more visible when we're out there. And that's our greatest area of need right now, is to push for this new RV. And people can find on our website, there's a donation link, donate, button. Things can go in there. Any donations that come in, we will put toward that. But you can also join us as a monthly supporter, because that helps us be able to be present. One of our taglines is being overdoing. And so we want to be good years, so that we can just spend time. And in order to not have to get, other jobs to help pay for our lives, the support of our monthly givers helps sustain that. So we know that we can continue to spend our time on the boulevard in this community.
And for those who are listening rather than watching, you can email Nikki at Nikki, Nikki, at ccsatlanta.org. You can reach CCS Atlanta via phone at 404-832-5252. And the website is ccsatlanta.org. And you can also reach Mr. Leroy at ccsatlanta.org. Again, the webpage is ccsatlanta.org. So for those of you who want to donate or volunteer, please contact Leroy or Nikki at their respective email addresses or the phone number. Again, the phone number is 404-832-5252.
My daddy's name Leroy.
There
Leroy.
you go. That man got a good name right there. That man got a good name.
Right. We got a couple Leroy still in my family, so that's cute. Leroy. You know, but I do want to say before we let y'all go, I love the fact that you know your operational costs. It's a little pet peeve of mine when people ask for money and then they don't let us know, well, how much does it take to run your business? Like, how much it in nonprofits, and maybe, I don't know if this is something everybody needs to do publicly or whatnot, but dude, you want us to donate, you got to let us know what we donating for and give us a little something. Just give us a little something. That's all. So I love that. And that means that you're in the weeds, you know the money, you know where it's going and what's needed to keep the business going so that you can help lives in the community. So thank you for that. And maybe Toyota, GMC, one of those folks can donate what you say you need. Okay, let's claim it. We all say it.
We're looking at a Red Hawk Jayco right now. A Jayco Red Hawk.
Yeah.
Let's claim it.
It even has a bird as its logo. Like this is what's crazy. So
normally my good sister Kat asked this question. With the two of you pouring into so many people, you said you have a client roll of about 100. Mm-hmm. You two are pouring into so many people, into their lives and blessing them. What do you do to fill your cups? Because we know that you have to serve from your saucer and not from your cup. Mm-hmm. So what do each of you do? And I'll let you take it first, Nikki. Ladies first.
All right. I mean, a big thing for me, I love to smoke cigars. I would not call myself a cigar aficionado. That's something that we both do, actually. And oftentimes on a Friday afternoon, we will, come back to the office and sit out on the deck and just enjoy a smoke to be able to just kind of woosah it all away. Really, it's my community of friends. And just the support that I have from my family. Most of my family is still in Michigan, but they are constantly, checking in on me, checking up on things like that. So, but it's really my network of friends here, my church family here, that really key in on the changes. Hey, you look really tired. You look really, so they help keep me in line.
Okay.
That's
and
good.
Then, Mr. Leroy, how do you?
I try to go to Disney World as much as I possibly can without my family. Yeah.
Cynthia said that's Fulton Industrial.
Uh-oh.
So no, I really I do. I am a huge Disney fan, and it's the happiest place on earth, but it's also my happy place. So in fact, I went, I don't know, was that 3 months ago? Just went, a friend of mine who is a teacher and also owns a restaurant. So he gets, the idea of being overextended. Mm-hmm. He called and said, "Hey man, I'm trying to go down this weekend. Can you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I definitely can go." So I try to get down there and to just recharge and to dream again and to, that's what really helps me. I'm a dreamer at heart. And so doing this work is a lot of doing. It's a lot of head down. It's a lot of. And so like dreaming again and all that kind of stuff doesn't really, being creative doesn't really happen a lot. And so that gives me space to be able to do that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is good, real good. Any last parting words from you two? And note, family, they are not husband and wife. Don't make the mistake I did.
That is true. I had to set Kat straight, but she was very gracious.
But your energy is so connected. I thought you were too.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people do. In fact, most of our clients probably think we are,
and we don't even correct them at this point because it's like we've told them before, and I'm like,
they'll say, "Where's your husband?" And I was like, "Well, we're not like to know."
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, we thank you for this conversation, for inviting us, and not only us, but to allow Cynthia to be part of this as well. Because, in a lot of spaces, people want to hear from the polished, and we're certainly not polished.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cynthia would claim to be polished. So
Cynthia was great. I love
she's
her.
She's just a great person. Like I'm glad to have her.
I love it.
My daddy
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, her dad
What'd
is
you
a
say,
big.
Miss?
She said her daddy loves us too because we got his baby back home.
Oh,
I know, right. I know that's
I
right.
think my parting words would just be, I mean, for us, it has always been about, the relationship first. And so when it's really easy to get discouraged, it's also easy when people look at the work that we do and say, well, why do y'all do that? Like, why do you spend that much time out there? I mean, I had somebody, when I told him that, a lot of the people that we work with are maybe not even they're not even thinking about getting off the street. And we've had friends that died out there, like that was but they were still our friends. And they were like, why can't you guys choose, people who are more likely to succeed? Why do you guys, keep choosing these people? And I'm like,
that's not how God works.
you are a believer, right? Like if that is your faith,
Yes.
that's really hard to hear you say something like that.
Yeah.
But also just thinking from the vantage point of somebody sitting on Fulton Industrial, and thinking that it's completely over. My life is over. Nobody really cares about me. Everybody out here uses me. And then that feeling of somebody walking up and just saying, "Listen, I don't want anything from you. I just want everything for you. Be here as long as it takes for you to know that, and for you to trust me in that, and then for me to be able to demonstrate that to you." I think like that's how we should live our lives, and we just get an opportunity to do it in a really hard place. But I think that's a position that everybody can take with their friends and their relationships and their whoever in their life. What does it look like to not have a transactional relationship with people, and just have a relationship that is really built on, I want to know you, I want you to know me, I want what's best for you, and I hope you want what's best for me too. And reestablishing those kind of relationships in dark places. So that's what I would say is my parting words.
And I
Yes.
just want to say that you and Miss Nikki are doing God's work. Matthew 25:36 tells us that when I was naked, you clothed me. When I was sick, you you cared for me. You visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. That's what Christ tells us to do. That's what we've been commanded to do, right? That's part of loving thy neighbor as thyself, and you're doing God's work. And thank you.
And finish that by saying, because I believe it continues to say, how can we, God, repay you when you doing all this thing to me? And God said, do it to each other.
Mm,
That
yep.
right there. Yes, God clothes you, God does all of that. But how can we repay God back? By doing it to one another. And that's
Yep.
what y'all.
I
Woo.
say to you, as you did it to one of the least of my brothers, you did it to me. So
I can't quote the Bible, but I get somewhere close.
But I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
As
welcome.
always, we thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.